Tired of not getting any interview calls? Do you feel like your resume just goes into a black hole, never to be seen again? I'm going to share with you 3 crucial principles that each resume must have to get you noticed by employers to secure interviews. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified every time we post a new video about job search advice, or if you're just looking for encouragement, wisdom, and practical guidance in your career transition journey, let us be your guide. So what I'm about to share with you is often overlooked when it comes to resumes, yet these principles apply to every resume. These insights will help you get noticed by employers and land interviews, just like many of my own clients. So take Jennifer, who recently applied for a position that had hundreds of applicants, and here's what she writes after her interview with the recruiter. He told me that just over the past weekend, they received over 200 resumes for the position, but my resume stuck out to him, and that is why I got the call. I'm Chicks, also known as Dr. A, with 20 years in HR and recruitment experience from many leading companies. My wife and I founded Career Calibration to help seasoned professionals land 6-figure plus roles without the frustration of relying solely on job applications that yield little to no results. So we've reviewed thousands of resumes and know what employers want to see. So stay tuned to the end to get information on getting our free job search guide with resume, and then a winning resume template that comes with it, and a bonus LinkedIn networking tips guide. And we'll also share with you how we can help accelerate your job search. So what's the scoop with resumes? So if you jump on YouTube and type in resume, you're going to get the whole gamut of resume advice. Should it be 1 page? Should it be 2 pages? Or more? What clock should I use? Should I discuss gaps? And the list goes on and on and on. So resume advice varies greatly. We all know that. And adding to the complexity, employers, hiring managers, HR professionals, and recruiters all have different preferences for what they want to see on a resume. So here's the truth. It all comes down to the individual reviewing your resume and their unique preferences. Given this, it's impossible to meet every single preference because everyone has their own opinion on what a resume should look like. So how do we navigate all of this? In my years of recruitment and talent acquisition, I've found that all hiring managers, recruiters, and HR professionals are looking for one key thing: relevant content related to the role they're hiring for. That's it. It doesn't matter how visually appealing your resume is or if it matches the company's branding. If it doesn't communicate the right information, you won't get noticed. In fact, focusing too much on aesthetics can draw the wrong kind of attention. This leads me into the first crucial principle I'd like to talk about when crafting a winning resume that will help you stand out, and that is simplicity. A clean and simple structure is very important. For example, some resume writers will have, fancy borders, graphs, pretty colors, and many unnecessary items on the resume that make it look aesthetically pleasing, but prove to be ineffective when it goes through a company's applicant tracking system. There are some applicant tracking systems, also known as ATS, that do not play nice, and your resume may actually come out on the other end unrecognizable, and even worse, unreadable. And you don't want that, right? So taken from a 20-year recruitment vet, I've seen this hundreds of times across multiple applicant tracking systems that I've used, where resumes that were submitted are either unreadable or never get to me as the recruiter. As a result, the candidate is never called. This is a real thing, and you often don't know what type of applicant tracking system a company might be using. So to avoid this, keep it as simple as possible. Use a plain format and structure. So for example, remove any borders, images, or graphs. Your name should go at the top, followed by your contact information such as location, city and zip code only, phone number, email, LinkedIn profile, and URL. Followed by your professional summary and core competencies, and lastly, followed by your professional experience and education as applicable. We'll talk more about some of these areas later, but a simple format is crucial if you want your resume to reach the intended party. Yes, it may not look as beautiful as a resume that has section borders, graphs, and lots of colors, but you ensure that it goes through the ATS and gets read. Better to have a resume that has a plain layout that gets seen and lands you an interview than a beautiful resume that never gets noticed. Okay, on to principle number 2, and that is clarity. So when I say clarity, what I mean is that the overall messaging of your resume needs to be clear to the readers reading it. You have to keep in mind that there are many people who could potentially read your resume, and all of them are going to interpret it in the way that best suits them. For example, how a recruiter reads your resume will be different from how the hiring manager will read it and interpret it. Same goes for the hiring manager's boss versus potential peers. You want to write in a way that clearly tells your story and what you offer that the employer needs. Then when you interview, you can elaborate more as needed. For example, a great place to start would be at the top of your resume called the summary, and also an area many employers want to see and are familiar with called core competencies. I'll elaborate on this in a moment. First, I want to tell you that it's important to make a good and quick first impression. There's much data available about how fast it takes a recruiter or hiring leader to quickly scan a resume. Some data has suggested that as little as 6 to 7 seconds. I can attest to this being a former recruiter, and with advanced ATS tools, AI, and shortcut features available through Word and/or PDF, this time can be cut in half. So you want to make a good first impression quickly and at the very top of your resume where recruiters and hiring leaders are most likely to start. Because if a recruiter and/or hiring leader cannot find what they're looking for in the first 3 to 7 seconds, then chances are you may never get looked at again, which unfortunately happens to many people. So back to the summary and the core competency section. In the summary section, you start off with the title of the role you're targeting, not your current title. There's a place for that. Your current title belongs in the professional experience section. However, here at the top of the summary will be your target title, which signifies the objective of the role you're targeting for. So in this example, let's say that you're looking for an executive sales leadership role, or there's a job description titled Sales Leadership Executive. You would list it here. Look at this section as a fluid area on your resume. This can change depending on the role you're applying for. This will ensure that your resume bubbles up to the top of the pile of resumes and catch the attention of the reader. Then, in the summary area, make this section short and to the point. This should summarize who you are as the professional and the value you provide in your work in helping the intended organization. So use adjectives to describe your strengths, add a major accomplishment here to grab their attention, and quantify it if applicable. Next, you want to write your core competencies. Here's your chance to give employers what they're looking for on this section. Here you add your own skills and competencies, but also add the ones that you have that match up with the skills they're looking for as listed in the job description. And one pro tip is to look at the job description and look for words such as preferred or desired. There are others, but when you see these are a good indicator of what the employer truly wants. What you're going after here are keywords. Keywords are terminology that recruiters and hiring leaders would first key in on before looking at anything else on your resume. So use keywords that describe the impact or value added outcome you are able to achieve. Then leave the space at the end to add additional skills that the employer is looking for. So make sure to feature that terminology prominently at the top of your resume, or I would say at the top section of your resume, and this will ensure that you rise further to the top of the pile. So word of caution here though, make sure that you actually have these skills. Do not fabricate. The fastest way to get kicked out of the hiring process and never be called again is to fabricate the skills you don't actually have. So many people get into this habit of listing skills they do not have, and it becomes apparent during the interview. So be truthful, and it will serve you in the long run. If this is resonating with you so far, hit the like button right now. Now, I want to ask a question. Comment below. So take, for example, a student fails a test and then asks the professor for a passing grade because their parents will be upset. How would you answer this student? Since grade should be given on the basis of performance, the reason being given by the student is irrelevant. So this brings me to the last principle, which is principle number 3, relevancy. You want to ensure as much as possible that your resume closely mirrors the job description and or the true requirements of the role. And I say true because I'm sure many of you have noticed that some job descriptions do not accurately communicate what the hiring leader may be looking for. So you would need to get this information from somewhere and tailor your resume accordingly. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal and quoted by Dr. John Sullivan, professor of human resources at San Francisco University, companies cite that over 50% of applicants who apply for a given role are not even qualified for the job that they apply for. And as a former executive recruiter, I would say even higher than that. I have often wondered why some people apply for roles that they know that they're not remotely fit for. So, for example, when I first started out in recruiting, I recall one of the first jobs I had to recruit for was for a software architect opening. And a person in the role clearly required extensive years of work and training in building software systems. However, sure enough, I had bakers and law enforcement officers with zero software experience apply to those roles. Their resumes were completely irrelevant to the position. When it comes to relevancy, you want to add verbiage or, as we talked about, keywords listed on the job description. This needs to start out on the first few lines on every section, so summary, core competencies, and professional experience. By listing it at the beginning of each section, it gives the reader a desire to keep reading. So this is a technique borrowed from copywriting, where the first line is designed to get you to read the second line, and the second line is designed to get you to read the third line, and so on and so forth, until you have read everything. Each line builds intrigue, and it acts like a waterfall, hence the concept waterfall methodology. And there you have it, folks. The winning resume formula is simplicity, clarity, relevant content. So these timeless principles will never fail you. All the other advice that you see regarding resumes is just a matter of preference rather than a hard rule. And one last pro tip. When saving a resume and applying to a job, save it as the title of the job, then apply. This will ensure that the ATS picks up the title when listed in a resume preview section or dashboard on the ATS and pushes you further up in the pile of resumes. All right, need more ideas or guidance on landing your next role? Download my ultimate search guide. In it, I walk you through in developing a resume that is simple, clear, and relevant and will help you stand out. It includes a template, and then as a bonus, there's an additional LinkedIn job search guide titled From Connections to Offer, a guide for mid to senior level professionals on how to leverage LinkedIn for professional success. You will find a link in the description below. Also, if you're a seasoned professional that is struggling to get noticed by an employer, I'd love to help. So click on the link below and fill out an application to work with us, and if a fit, you will be prompted to schedule a call with us. I look forward to meeting you. And finally, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe and comment below. See you next time. Over and out.